to the SEC, over-under win totals. I've got all 16 teams here. I'm trying to explain these as best as I can, and I'm starting with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Their over-under is 9.5. I think they're going over. Like I said, they're making it to the SEC title game, and I think they're winning the SEC. The difference, I think, is going to be Ryan Grubb. As the former Washington offensive coordinator that Kalen DeBoer hired when he was at Washington, this offense is going to look different. And I think it's going to be just perfect timing for all this. It's going to be probably run heavy if we know a little bit about Ryan Grubb. And I think that takes pressure off Ty Simpson. You know, and I believe in the old football thing where the old football philosophy, like the running game opens up the pass game. And if Alabama can run, and think about of all the Alabama teams that we've saw in the past, talking about Derrick Henry, for example, man, and all the great running backs, Mark Ingram, the list goes on of the ones that are slipping my mind at the moment. All the great Alabama running backs. Alabama is a running team. I think they get back to it. And I think, like I said, that takes pressure off Ty Simpson. And I think Kalen DeBoer over exceeds this season. They go over. Now for Arkansas, things are not looking good for Sam Pittman. Their over-under is 5.5 wins. I think they can win 5. So I'm taking the under on them. Sam Pittman most likely retires. He could pull a Steve Spurrier at South Carolina. He could just retire mid-season. That would not surprise me. But I think Arkansas is going to be looking for a coach in the offseason, maybe before the offseason. Moving on to Auburn. Oh, man, Hugh Freeze, boy. Their over-under is 7.5. So it's no mistake that preseason camp has not been great. Jackson Arnold hasn't blown anybody away. And Hugh Freeze has already said that all 3 quarterbacks are going to play in the first game versus Baylor. That right there tells me that he's not certain, who his quarterback is. Now, he dealt with this with Peyton Thorne. He brought Peyton Thorne in there, thought he was going to be the guy, and he stunk the joint up. Is Jackson Arnold coming in from Oklahoma? Is it going to be the same for him? I've got Auburn going under. They might win 6 games. They might win 7 games. But if you have not checked out my video where I went through the SEC coach hot seat gauge, where I went from a cold as ice seat, mild seat, moderately warm, and a hot as flaming hot seat. Hot as can be. On fire. I had Hugh Freeze in the on fire category. And I specifically said if they do not get the over, if they do not win 8 games, and possibly that including a pretty good victory there at some point in the season over a team that maybe they wasn't supposed to win against, I think his job is going to be fine. It is not looking well. And if this is the case, and they do go under 7.5 wins, Hugh Freeze, you may be on the job board at the end of the year. So we could see like astronomical amount of turnover in the SEC this season, as we do, from time to time. So for Florida, man, Florida is one of those teams that can be so good, and they've dealt with injuries in the past, specifically with DJ Lagway. If DJ Lagway and others can stay healthy, man, they can shoot way over the 7.5 win total that Las Vegas has came up with here. I will preface this, though. Do not bet on the Florida Gators. If you are the betting type, do not put your money one way or the other on the Florida Gators. Just don't do it. Just trust me on that. Now, I don't think that I'm still going over. I'm going over. I think he's going to be healthy enough to I think they're going to win some games, and I'm banking on that. Billy Napier better hope so. That's all I have to say. Because if they if this is a 6-win team, maybe even if it's a 7-win team, man, his seat is going to be flaming hot as well. So moving from Florida to their rivals just across the state line, Georgia, 9.5 is the over-under win total. And this is tough, man. This was a tough one. But I do have them going over, actually. I think they do have a chance to win 10 games. No, they miss out on the SEC title game, but I think they still win 10 games. They find a way. The defense is going to be elite like they were in past years. The key games will be played at home, and that is key because Georgia has a 31-game win streak in Sanford Stadium, and that continues this year. Yeah, they have Georgia coming into town. Like I said, or they have Alabama coming into town. Oh, Georgia playing Georgia? What? Alabama's coming to town, and I think Alabama gets the win. I think they break that win streak. Nevertheless, 10 wins for Kirby. Kentucky, oh boy, here's another coaching crisis. Their over-under is 4.5. I've got them going under. Oh boy. On3 has them as the 28th recruiting class, 14th in the SEC. Portal has been absolutely naughty to this team. And it appears that Mark Stoops has checked out. He's let some of his coaching staff get away from him. Like I said, they've been hurting in recruiting. I'm sure they have some good guys coming in, but man, they're going under 4.5 wins. And oh boy, Mark Stoops is going to be out at the end of the year. Now for LSU, this is also another tough one. And LSU fans seem to be torn on what their team is. People are either, hating on Brian Kelly, thinking, man, we're not going to be anything with him at HC. But at the same time, you got other people predicting this team to be like an 11-1, going to the SEC championship game, national title contender. There is no in between. Their over-under is 8.5. Great talent. But does Brian Kelly get in the way? Garrett Nussmeier is key. An improved defense, I think, is going to be key as well. They got Harold Perkins and others. Will we see Brian Kelly beating the desk again at a press conference this season? Yes, I think so. LSU's going under 8.5. That's what I've got. And move on from LSU to MSU, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Their over-under is 3.5. And I think that's beneficial to them. It's not impossible to go over. And I'm picking them to go over. It's not impossible. If they can just win 3 non-conference games. Now, keep in mind, their 4th non-conference game is against Arizona State. Arizona State, the team that's going to win the Big 12, in my opinion. If they can win 3 out of conference games and upset an SEC team, that's all they got to do. Boom. They've made the over. If they manage to win 5 games this season, that is an absolute win for this team. Blake Shapen's health is going to be very important. Obviously, the health of any quarterback is going to be important. We talked about that with Lagway. We've talked about that before with other players. Blake Shapen stays healthy. Like, he got hurt. Remember, he got hurt last year. If they can drum up some kind of solid running game, they've got a portal improved offensive line, and they've got increased depth on the defensive line, so maybe they'll be a more balanced team. I think they have a chance of winning 4, maybe even 5 games this year. Like I said, over 3.5 for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So then for Missouri, Vegas is not really hot on Missouri. They currently have them at 6.5, but I'm going over. Eli Drinkwitz, he's in a rebuild year this season, but I think that low bar is just low enough, and looking at their schedule, I think 7 wins are possible for the Missouri Tigers, and they'll rebuild, and they'll be back to hopefully their former selves here in the next year or so, but I think they're going to exceed Vegas's expectations in 2025. We're going on the home stretch here, Oklahoma, 7.5. Oh boy, they got a tough non-conference game versus Michigan and a really tough 5-game stretch, man. And that is at the latter part of the season, and that can derail everything. Even if they start all right, even if they was to beat Michigan, man, that last portion, about middle ways, when they go to Red River, all the way through the end, man, that's going to be a tough stretch. And honestly, not just the last 5, but the last 7 games, extremely tough for Oklahoma. You've got John Mateer wrapped up in this gambling scandal, and I don't think that's going to be the downfall of him. I think that's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It's not going to go anywhere. The NCAA is probably going to investigate it. It's not going anywhere. John Mateer is going to be playing. He's going to be pretty darn good. And offensive coordinator Ben Arbuckle, they both came from Washington State, and they're going to win some more games because of that. I think 7 wins is a good bet for Oklahoma. I wouldn't be surprised if they did hit the over, but as it stands right now, I've got them under 7.5. Then we move on to Ole Miss. Ole Miss coming off of a pretty good team, pretty good roster. The number one, first round draft pick, Jackson Dart, going to the New York Giants. Other players, Walter Nolan and some other skilled players going to the draft as well, are losing a lot of talent. Their over-under is 8.5. But, maybe it's just me being a little bit of a homer because, I like Ole Miss, man. I like Ole Miss. I think they go over. It wouldn't surprise me if they go under and win 8 games. I don't think they win less than 8 games. But I'm being a little bit optimistic here. I'm picking the over. I trust defensive coordinator Pete Golding. So I know the defensive talent, it's not going to be as good as it's been in the past couple of years, as it was last year. But, it's not as bad as it was when Pete Golding came into the program. The first Ole Miss defense that Pete Golding inherited wasn't that great. And I remember saying, on another podcast, you can only do so much. Because I remember Alabama fans just dumped Pete Golding. Oh, he's terrible. He comes to Ole Miss, and I have to explain that. You can only do so much with a talent discrepancy, especially in a league like the SEC. If you don't have the skills, you can put your players in the best position possible. And that does not mean that there's going to be success. It's not going to mean that you're going to prevent a team like Georgia, a team like Alabama from scoring on you. But I trust him that he is going to put them in the best position. And I don't think, like I said, that their defense is as bad as they was when he came into the program just a couple years ago. So moving on to the offense, if Austin Simmons can deal with that weak O-line, and I do think that offensive line is going to be pretty weak, which is really something you don't want, especially when you give a new quarterback the reins. If he can deal with that, and maybe if they can retool the offense a little bit to his strengths, because I don't always like play calling decisions by Charlie Weiss Jr., but I think if they do mix it up a little bit, maybe retool that offense to Simmons' strengths, because his strengths may not be the same as Jackson Dart's was. This may be a whole completely different offense. I don't know what the running back room is going to look like. We know how last season it was a bit of a train wreck. If they can improve there, and somehow with a bad offensive line, with an at least average to slightly below average offensive line, if they could move the ball on the ground, man, that would be a great, same thing with, who was that I said a minute ago? For Alabama. If Alabama can run the ball, I think they're going to be successful. If Ole Miss can somehow run the ball, I think they can be successful as well. And I think some of that will be at the feet of Austin Simmons, using his legs, because I know he's fast. He's a smart kid. Over, under, 8.5, Ole Miss got the over. Moving on to South Carolina. Their over-under is 7.5. They got a tough schedule, much like Oklahoma's. Lenora Sellers, man. This is a 6'3", 240-pound absolute beast. If he can put the team on his back, 8 wins or more. I've got South Carolina going over. I like South Carolina. I do. I like Shane Beamer. I like the Gamecocks. Is this going to be like a Cam Newton Auburn type, putting the team on your back? I don't know if I would go that far, but not out of the question. Can we see some magic from South Carolina in 2025? I don't know, but I do have them winning at least 8 games this year. So Tennessee, the team that snuck into the playoff last season, 8.5 win total. I got them going over. Joey Aguilar won the quarterback battle. You remember we had what I'm calling the Nico fiasco. I hope UCLA treats you well there, Nico. Defense is going to be great. Defense is going to be pretty darn good. They've got an easier schedule. It's something that they took advantage of last year. That's going to get them 9 wins. They're going to go over. I'm actually pretty confident about that. Texas at 9.5, no doubt the over. No doubt the over. Yes, I said they were going to go to the title game, the SEC title game. Unfortunately, lose to Alabama. But you know what's funny? People have been calling Texas the new Alabama. Maybe a little early to say that. But you know, there's a kid named Arch Manning that's being handed the reins. And he's been hyped up. Will he live up to the hype, or will he be average? Now, with that being said, if he's an average quarterback, I don't see any issue in that. Look at all the Alabama teams that Nick Saban has had. Look at all the championship teams that Nick Saban has had, and look at the quarterbacks that led those teams. Go back and look. You do not have to have an elite quarterback if you have a team like Texas has, if you have a team like Alabama has. They're going to have a tough start at Ohio State in week 1, but the road gets a heck of a lot smoother. We could see Arch Manning could have his moment at Ohio State. And for a kid to get thrown to the fire like that in week 1, man, he's going to have to put the team on his back, just like Lenore Sellers is going to put the team on his back. Arch Manning can put the team on his back at Ohio State, prove all the doubters wrong, and prove the media right, because, you know, there's been a lot of puff pieces out there. Everybody's been hyping Arch Manning up. He's a Manning. I love the Mannings. I absolutely love the Mannings. I like the kid. They're going over 9.5. They're going to the playoff. Now, just down the road from Texas is Texas A&M. And this is pretty simple. Over under 7.5, I got them going over. Mike Elko takes advantage of that oil money. Places the Aggies in contention. They're going to be in the conversation. They're not going to do what Jimbo does and recruit a high-level recruiting class and then live up to the Texas 8-4 name. Mike Elko's going over 7.5. And then we come to Vanderbilt. Dark horse in the SEC. One-hit wonders. Their over-under is 4.5. And like Mississippi State, that's going to be not that difficult to go over. And I've got them going over because I think they can easily win 5 games. They could win 6, go to a bowl game again. Are they going to shock somebody? Man, anything can happen. That's what we learned last year. And I think this year, man, it could be more volatile than last season's was. If you look at all the new, the rebuild teams, if you look at all the new quarterbacks, all the uncertainty, man, anything can happen. And for Diego Pavia, is he all bark and no bite? Is he going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC? Your guess is as good as mine. Vanderbilt, not necessarily a guaranteed win. I do expect them to win 5 games, 6 if they're absolutely lucky. But like I said, they do hit the over. So that's all 16 SEC teams, the over-under prediction.